At night, the Kremlin looks like a sleeping giant, its ancient walls glowing under the city lights. Its towers stand as silent, watchful guards over the silent courtyards within. The frenetic energy of Moscow moves far below a world away from the stillness that settles upon these historic ramparts. High above the Moskva River, the Kremlin keeps its many secrets locked away from the modern world. Behind its formidable red brick facade are palaces, cathedrals, but there are also rooms that hold the very soul of the past. These are rooms of immense power and profound quiet, where history is not just remembered but physically present and waiting. People from all corners of the globe visit the Kremlin. They come to marvel at the glistening onion domes and the sprawling, ornate palaces. They hold crowns heavy with gems and power. They contain weapons that decided the fate of a nation. They guard objects that tell 1,000 silent stories. The Kremlin is impossibly old. It became the heart of Russian power a very long time ago, a fortress that evolved into a true center of authority. For centuries upon centuries, leaders have ruled from within these very walls, their commands echoing through its halls and shaping the destiny of a vast land. The Kremlin was the grand stage for ceremony and the solemn chamber for governance. It was the private home for the czars and later the seat of Soviet leaders. It was also designed to be a sanctuary, a safe place to keep the most precious things a nation could possess. These items show how rulers wished to be perceived and, ultimately, how they are remembered. One of the most renowned and visited places inside the Kremlin is the State Armoury. The name itself is something of a misnomer, a title that hints at only a fraction of its contents. The Armoury is not merely a collection of weapons and armor, though it has those in abundance. It is a treasure house unlike any other in the world. Coronation robes woven with gold and silver thread, magnificent crowns and scepters, sacred icons and lavish gifts from distant lands. The treasures of the Armoury range from the impossibly small to the overwhelmingly large. A single crown, densely packed with brilliant gems that seems to capture and hold the light itself. A ceremonial sword never meant for battle, a hilt of pure gold, a scabbard encrusted with diamonds, with rubies. A liturgical robe worn only once for a coronation, heavy with golden embroidery, heavy with pearls, a burden to wear. Thousands of hours of painstaking labor for each piece. Each object tells a story of its owner and of the master who made it. Craftsmen used skills lost to time, difficult to replicate with modern technology. They worked with old, simple tools, relying on knowledge passed down through generations. They selected the finest gems from the far reaches of the empire and from beyond. They forged the strongest steel for blades that became legendary. They infused profound artistry and deep-seated faith into their work. These were not just luxury items, they were seen as conduits of divine right and as expressions of national pride. Many famous items have acquired names and legends. One persistent story revolves around the cap of Monomarch. Legend says it was a gift from a Byzantine emperor, a direct link to Rome's heritage. The story helped legitimize Moscow's rulers, wrapping them in ancient, sacred authority. Whether the legend is true is debated, but its political power is undeniable. The collection reveals an intricate web of diplomacy and trade, silverworks from England, delicate porcelain from Germany, ornate firearms from the Ottoman Empire. These were gifts between sovereigns, symbols of respect, of alliance, or of subtle intimidation. A silver wine fountain from Sweden recalls a peace treaty. Horse trappings glittering with turquoise from Persia speak of an Eastern alliance. The Armoury is a map of Russia's place in the world, told through objects of breathtaking beauty. The stories of the men who commissioned and wore these treasures are as compelling as the items themselves. One of the most fearsome and complex figures is Ivan the Terrible. He was a ruler of great intelligence and piety, but also of terrifying paranoia and cruelty. His name is forever attached to many of the Kremlin's tales. People say that his crowns held worldly power and a dark, almost magical force, reflecting his volatile personality. They speak of a certain staff, tipped with iron, used to strike down those who displeased him, even within the sacred halls of his court. Some stories explain real events, adding human color to dry facts. The legend of Ivan blinding the architects of St. Basil's Cathedral, while likely untrue, persists, becoming a grand myth that can overshadow complex reality. The Kremlin's artifacts become props in these dramas, silent witnesses to a reign of both splendor and terror. The objects tied to Ivan carry a dark charisma. His throne, the ivory throne, is a masterpiece of carving. Its panels show scenes from King David's life. It stands as a symbol of righteous kingship and divine judgment. Yet Ivan sat on it during the Oprichnina, a time of turmoil and bloodshed. The throne's beauty contrasts with the brutal history made while it was occupied. Looking at it, you feel the chilling dissonance between ideal power and violent reality. There are other personal items. An ancient book of Psalms bound in leather and silver is said to have been his. It recalls his deep, tormented religiosity. He would pray for forgiveness, then commit the same sins again. These artifacts don't give simple answers. They deepen the mystery. They show a ruler who was a nation builder, a tyrant, a devout believer, a merciless killer. The objects he left hold all these contradictions in their silent forms. A century after Ivan, another great name echoes through the Kremlin's history, Peter the Great. He was a force of nature, a czar who fundamentally and irrevocably changed Russia. Tall, energetic, endlessly curious. He was determined to modernize his country, to wrench it from its medieval past and align it with the great powers of Western Europe. He ordered the construction of a new navy from scratch. He mandated new styles of dress, famously ordering his nobles to shave their traditional beards. Science, engineering, craftsmanship. His influence is deeply felt in the Kremlin's collections. Peter the Great brought a storm of new styles and ideas, machines, clockwork, the precise arts of the West. The treasures from his era reflect this shift. The heavy, Byzantine-inspired regalia of old gave way to more elegant, European-style crowns and scepters. Remarkable gifts from his grand embassy, complex scientific instruments, masterful firearms, exquisite silver. Some of the most extraordinary items show a fusion of Russian tradition and Western technique. Kremlin-made pistols mimicking London or Paris, a clock whose automata still move with grace and precision. These objects were statements. Russia was no longer an isolated land, but a sophisticated power on the European stage. Yet even as power shifted to St. Petersburg, the Kremlin remained the spiritual and historical heart, a site of coronations and ancient regalia. Peter's reign created a fascinating duality in the collection, the preservation of ancient symbols of power, alongside the enthusiastic embrace of a radically new world. Beyond the crowns of tsars and the gifts of kings, some objects within the Kremlin are truly strange. There are items that send a chill down the spine, artifacts not just historical, but sacred relics, fragments of cloth believed to be from the robes of saints, slivers of wood said to be from the true cross. These relics were guarded with more jealousy than any diamond, for they represented a power far greater than any emperor could wield. Some artifacts have dark and bloody provenances. There is the dagger believed to have been used in the murder of Tsarevich Dmitri, simple, almost crude, yet haunting in its tragic connection. Other items have lost their meanings entirely, their purpose obscured by time. They sit quietly, inviting endless speculation and debate. The arguments over truth are endless. Did this chalice truly belong to a medieval prince, or is it a later copy? Was this icon really present at a decisive battle, or is that just a legend? Is a relic's miraculous origin true, or a pious fabrication? Many objects offer no easy answers. They wait for new evidence and methods to confirm or deny their stories. Here, the line between museum and shrine blurs. For a historian, value lies in verifiable history. For a believer, in sacred connection and faith. The Kremlin must navigate this delicate balance. These relics represent a deep and enduring part of the Russian soul, treated with a reverence that transcends material worth. Historians and curators who work with these artifacts have an immensely difficult job to separate myth from verifiable fact, a process often painstaking, sometimes impossible. They rely on ancient chronicles and dusty account books. They study metallurgy and weaving. They test jewels and analyze the wood grain of a throne, searching for corroboration. But records can be incomplete, scarred by fire or water, or simply lost to time. Oral traditions morph, archaic language misleads, even objects deceive, an ancient-looking crown heavily restored or remade later, a document, a masterful copy. So experts embrace science, X-ray fluorescence to read metals without harm, radiocarbon dating of wood, leather, cloth, microscopes to examine tool marks and brushstrokes. Findings can confirm beliefs or shatter myths. A blade older than its hilt opens new questions. Dyes from unexpected regions force a rethinking of trade routes. Each answer leads to more questions. The work is never done. Discovery, revision, and a humble acceptance that some things may never be fully known. To bridge the gaps, specialists turn to digital reconstruction, recreating shattered crowns and faded tapestries to their pristine state. They build three-dimensional rooms and stage ceremonies of centuries past. Broken objects become whole in pixels, uniting cold facts with human feeling, making history clear, accessible, vividly alive. We walk lost halls, rotate armor from every angle, and see artifacts by the flicker of candlelight, the closest we can come to time travel. Preservation remains vital. Light fades, air and humidity corrode and decay. Only precise environments keep them safe. Conservators repair with surgeons' hands, using reversible techniques, documenting each step to protect integrity. Every conservation is an intervention. Save or alter, patch or preserve the scar, shine the silver or keep its history. The story of the Kremlin and its treasures is not a closed book. It is a narrative still being written. New finds can overturn what we know. A chest long forgotten may yield the unexpected. A scan can reveal a hidden image. Lost documents can reframe the familiar. The past is not static, it still speaks in surprising ways. In the end, the Kremlin's vaults hold more than gold, more than jewels. They hold faith, fear. They hold the complex interplay of truth and myth. The indelible mark of rulers, both brilliant and brutal, who shaped a nation across 1,000 years. Each item is a doorway into another time. Each object silently asks a question. New methods will surely open some of these doors. Digital tools will let us peer inside, but some doors may remain locked forever. What forgotten stories still lie hidden behind the locked doors of Moscow's ancient vaults?